You're clear, my part.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live virtual session. I'm Rachel Bernosa, Senior Editor at People Matters, and I will be your host for today. The year 2022 invites workforce planning and human capital management technology to come together in order for leaders to achieve business and operational excellence. With HR technology at the forefront of every business transformation agenda, the people analytics function has become a critical tool to mine the endless data in our hands and to translate them into actionable insights. Continuing with our endeavor of supporting the data fluency of our HR community, People Matters, in partnership with Akrivia HCM, presents this exclusive session, which will delve into how people analytics can be utilized for efficient workforce planning. I'm very excited to welcome our experts here today. We have with us Adir Mane, CHRO at Raymond. Adir has over a decade of experience enabling people analytics functions. He also leads change management that ensures analytics usage facilitates business outcomes. He has spearheaded the people analytics efforts of companies like Cisco, the Landmark Group, Raymond, and many others. Thank you so much for giving us your time today, Adir.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel, for welcoming me. Yeah, thanks.
Our next guest is Ravendra Mishra, President of HR at Garware Technical Fibers. Ravendra is a seasoned HR leader with a demonstrated history of working in the textiles industry. He specializes in compensation, labor relations, and data analytics. He has led the people analytics function in organizations such as Tata Power, Matrix Fertilizer, and many others. Welcome to the session, Ravendra.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel.
We also have with us Ranjan Kumar, Chief Learning Officer at Akrivia HCM. Ranjan has over 15 years of experience in learning, training, and development. He has reached over 50,000 business decision makers and professionals through his talks, workshops, and one on one coaching sessions. He has helped people find their voice and connect with their authentic selves. His life and work revolve around the ideas of authenticity, self, and leadership. Welcome, Ranjan. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for the fantastic introduction, Rachel.
A quick note for our attendees, if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to use the chat window for posting them. We will bring them up towards the end of the panel discussion during the audience Q&A segment. Now, before I start, I want to run a quick poll for our attendees. I request everyone to go to www.menti.com and use the code 70776783 to participate in the poll. The question is, what is that one challenge you expect people analytics to solve? We'll give it a minute. And there you have it. The results of our poll, with 50% saying that they aim to improve employee well-being with the data and insights that they have. Ranjan, would you like to share your thoughts given the audience response?
Well, I would like to, I would like to share that there are two elements which I would like to bet on 2022 as far as people analytics and the trends going on. One is employee experience, and the other is career experience, where people are going to face their major challenges. And I would like to add my insights later in the conversation.
And we're very excited to listen in on that on those insights. Now let's start our panel discussion. My first question today is for everyone on the panel. What are some of the key trends in people analytics that will likely have an impact on the business community in 2022? Adir, let's start with you.
Yeah, thanks. This is an opening ball. I have to face it squarely and fairly. Thanks for that. I think couple of challenges and key trends as I personally see, and I think which are very important. I think whilst there is a lot of buzz around talking of analytics and a lot of HCM processes and HCM platforms actually start now rolling out the analytic pieces as well. But the trend I clearly see is that how much are we actually able to navigate from a pure descriptive level of analytics to actually predictive and prescriptive. That's when they actually will have to actually migrate towards two, because gone are the days of the MISs and being in the descriptive world. So I think not slowly, but I think very aggressively organizations will move towards predictive across the value chain of the HR subsystems, right from hiring to retiring. And I think that play will start ever increasing in terms of, and also at the prescriptive level. So I think that's the kind of landscape I personally see. Also, an advanced usage of advanced technologies like the artificial intelligence and machine learning will come into play, where bots start talking with people and kind of answering questions, not just, but also how we can actually start using some of the predictive dimensions in analytics to actually predict the performance of people, predict the engagement of people, predict actually who will attract, etc. I think that is something which is done already. But I'm saying across the board, the decision making, which this far or hitherto had been actually based on gut and many other things, I think the analytics part has to really traverse this journey to predictive and prescriptive dimensions, which will actually start adding value to businesses as the businesses that we support and business leaders that we engage with. So that's the whole game. I think many technologies are there out in the market. Machine learning itself will actually help kind of identify various dimensions within learning, and actually how we can actually take care of the learning dimensions of people through ML based applications. So I think that's another area which will probably, I think the more and more digitization of HR happens and more we go towards evidence and database decision, I think you see the play getting more pronounced today of analytics as a system. I think gone are the days when HR would have done some projects and come given to business. I think HR will be looked at as a product and a services offering. So I think they will have to constantly evolve themselves to offer newer areas on analytics, which will actually start helping the businesses in the right direction.
Thanks for that, Adir. I'm imagining that because uh, of HR transformation, digital transformation in HR, we are moving away from being descriptive and headed towards more predictive analytics, as you said. Um, what about you, Ravendra? What are your thoughts on the key trends that will shape the business community in terms of people analytics usage?
Yeah, so that's the most important thing what's going to happen in future, that use of this talent analytics or people analytics, what we call it, is going to be uh, applicable at most of the places in most of the functions within HR. Now, when we come to human capital and its application of people analytics in entire human capital function, then as we know that human capital is people capability and people commitment. So this analytics is going to be applicable in the best possible way in current time as we move along in both the aspects of people capability as well as on the people commitment part. So what I see nowadays that since business requirement is going to be much more aggressive towards profitable growth, and in order to keep a robust bottom line, the pressure on cost is going to be quite significant. So from that point of view, organization would certainly expect that what all tools we can use at workplace, so that we can optimize our workforce, we can optimize their skills and capabilities on one side, as well as if we can look into the commitment part, which is related to employee well-being, employee overall morale, overall engagement, and those kind of aspects. So certainly, I see that going forward in 2022, as well as in when in later on, the application of people analytics is going to be quite significant, quite immense, and it's going to be beneficial to the organization. And I would certainly say that the organization who are left behind and going to be left behind if they do not start applying variety of the analytics which are available. Even I can cite one simple example that even with the analysis on the simple mail pattern of a person, engagement level can be identified, and even early possibility of the attrition, some signal of attrition can also be observed. So if there can be certain things like this is just one simple example. There could be plenty of such examples where people analytics can be used in a very aggressive manner, and a lot of insight about employee can be obtained by HR leaders and acted upon on time before some damage happens and we are able to. So I think that's how I would say, and that's what I see now.
Thanks, Ravendra. Ranjan, tell us some key trends in people analytics this year.
Well, as I said, my bet is on employee experience, which is going to be crucial in 2022. And for the last 1 or 2 years, we have been talking a lot about Great Resignation phenomenon, and we are yet we are 2022 is to witness how organizations are going to react to this phenomenon, and how does this fit in with people analytics trends, and you know organizations over a period of time have started not just looking for employees, not just started looking for people, but looking for the best people. And all this to my assumption begins by asking the right questions. And there was one most popular question that Facebook asks itself is like, if you had the best talent in the world, what would it need to attract them and retain them? In the last few months that we have been talking a lot about employee engagement, adding a little to Adhir and Ravindra's conversation. uh, we have been using employee engagement and employee experience interchangeably without any distinguishable difference, but that's incorrect, because employee engagement is like a cosmetic improvement. It's like an adrenaline shot which is temporary in its effect, whereas employee experience is a long term change in the organization. And 2022 probably is going to witness a design change for enriching the employees experience in the organization. And because employee experience is actually the cause that brings employee engagement as its result. And people analytics is going to play a crucial role in helping us understand where we stand in terms of experience, in terms of engagement, and in terms of the employee's well-being and his connectivity to the organizational goals and objectives. And yes, as Ravindra said, this is just a part of it, and probably it's going to play a significant role bigger than this. And people analytics is going to be here for a long time, and probably we need to examine it from people's point of view to begin with.
Thank you, Ranjan. It seems to me that people analytics, of course, lays out a map for re-engineering the experience. Thank you for that. My next question again is for Adir. As attrition rates continue to be a challenge for organizations, How can people analytics set the tone for hiring strategy? Oh, Adir, I think you're on mute.
Very clearly, Rachel, there are immense use cases of how we can actually leverage predictive analytics in predicting actually which cohorts within an organization actually can attract, which actually can actually be, therefore, which will help us take some early action through early warning signals, etc., which are being laid out. Of course, not just through multivariate regression that we can use probably and isolate the factors which are causative for that particular attrition. But also, what can be done is basically look at some of these factors which actually lead to attrition. Therefore, will be then probably utilized as some of the measures or some of the indicators which we can start looking at whilst recruiting. I'll give an example. For example, in your day-to-day in your attrition analysis, one of the predictive indices is basically distance from workplaces, which is leading to attrition. Then how can, as a recruiting strategy, probably looking at people lesser distances being from the workplaces, etc. Other could be you have a pattern developed over a period of time where education of a certain background of certain people from certain institutes lead to lot of attrition. That gives me an indication that we may need to kind of change our strategy in hiring from some other institutes. So likewise, there could be a variety of factors which will be actually at play for attrition, right? And we are in the great resignation area. So therefore era. So therefore, these kind of isolation factors of what enables or what is kind of causative to the attrition will probably then be looked at for mitigating the hiring strategy for employees. So I think we link the attrition factor and see how we can actually start looking at avoiding those, or probably if the factors are not prevalent, and actually enhancing on those factors. So I think if you would have sets of 10 factors which are actually kind of helping, not helping, but really enabling that attrition, how can you actually utilize those factors and minimize the impact of those factors in your hiring strategy, which I gave you just now. Maybe a certain demography of people are attracting more than certain people. So how we can actually look at a different demography of people which will actually live. So that's how actually predictive analytics can start getting the play into attrition. And then at a prescriptive level, you start looking at how we can actually prescribe norms for the organization to actually look at those to actually help your recruiting strategy. Also, engagement, the level of engagement of employees. I mean, if you are able to predict the engagement level and therefore help actually help arrest some of those factors which are causative, that can also be utilized in our overall resourcing and recruiting strategy. So I think there are a whole host of methodology which are available, and I think this is attrition is the most simplest one, which is probably which we can fix through at predictive, because I have done modeling in some of my previous organizations through usage of data science capabilities within the organization, which actually helped me garner and look at which are these cohorts of people which were kind of uh, propensity of those number of that cohort was more to actually attract, and we took some corrective actions. Then those factors actually which were helped or which were there in that predictive analytics model, we use those factors in our environment to actually improve or kind of harp upon while we are recruiting. I mean, avoid those factors as it. So in fact, in my current company, we are using this for our garmenting businesses as well, where there's a lot of attrition in at the workman level, and we are actually talking about developing such model which will actually help me say if I am having avoidance of certain factors which will help my recruiting. Therefore, the distance, the demography of the person, the gender, and what have you. So everything gets, and then the model comes saying that avoid these factors while we are recruiting XYZ kind of person. So that's where I think it has an element of predictive analytics which can be utilized, and that can then lead to a robust hiring strategy for us as an organization going forward.
And again, it proves your point about our direction heading towards predictive analytics, because you did mention predictive indices and how these capture, or even, yeah, as we said, predict, forecast the relationship between a variety of factors like distance
Yeah,
and demographics. And then you
yeah,
can use that now towards prescriptive analytics for policy formulation. So you're not just
Yes.
gunning in the dark. So thanks
Yeah.
for that, Adir. What
Mhm.
about you, Ranjan? How can people analytics help ensure greater talent retention?
Well, taking it further, as Adhir said, looking at it beyond the prescriptive models, when you have access to people data with the right skills and feedback and motivation, when you have access to the right technology that works for your needs, and when you have the right policies in place to facilitate a successful people analytics program, you will be, as an organization, you will be able to make better data driven decisions. And when with better people analytics and data driven strategies as an organization, you will be able to assess, you will be able to know when when the individuals are leaving the jobs, and who's leaving the jobs, and probably where are they joining your competitors, what are the reasons for their moving, and probably what could be the results in short term and long term on the business goals of the organization. And by using these, you take steps to find out what's going wrong with your policies and organizations, and probably
Mhm.
also get insights as to how you can fix them. And people are your most valuable asset as an organization, and it's critical that, as Adhir said, to use all the data, to acquire all data from all these sources, to be able to get that one unified view. You need the performance data, you need the financial data, you need the training data, you need the movement data, you need the engagement data, and you need each data of an individual to find that one unified view of the entire life cycle. And probably that's going to help you make better hiring decisions and better strategies to retain the talent that exists with the organization in the first place.
Thank you, Ranjan. With that, yes, the emphasis on having that single source of truth almost through a reliable analytics platform. And as you said, you can easily tell, given that visibility, who's leaving, who's joining, where are they going if they're departing from the organization. These are things that would be difficult to capture if you just have like a single set of data and you don't have the layers to it that an analytics platform would provide. Thanks for that. Now, Ravendra, as we know, workforce planning is one of the critical elements to driving productivity and growth in the workplace. How can organizations leverage people analytics for efficient workforce planning? Ravendra?
Yeah, sorry, there was some disturbance. I'm back over here. Yeah, so coming to the same point, Rachel, that on the attrition, so in our kind of manufacturing sector organization, what I have seen that it's quite often possible to understand and predict the behavior of the employees, understand that how exactly they are coming across, how they are interacting, in what manner they are collaborating with one another, supporting one another, how they come across. So there are a variety of the behavioral aspects which we can predict, which we can notice, and by applying these predictive analysis and these type of tools, we can understand that how exactly things are happening, and then we can come to know, and obviously that will improve the engagement part, and even other things also, all other aspects what other panelists Adhir and Rangan also have stated. That's going to be there. So I see plenty of benefits, and it's a variety of the applications.
Thank you, Ravendra. Adir, coming back to the importance of talent retention, employee engagement plays a critical factor to life at work. What role does people analytics play in informing companies about, possible loopholes in their employee engagement initiatives?
Yeah, very clearly. Analytics can play, of course. Engagement itself, looked at in hindsight, it's kind of looking at the rear view mirror of what has happened in the past. But I think newer technologies which are ML based and which are chatbots which can actually converse with people today are the thing which are the latest technology which will actually help us not just understand engagement on a yearly, quarterly basis, but on a day-to-day basis. So I think if you are able to utilize some of these tools, which will give us a mood, understand kind of a moodometer, and help us drive down to the issues that people are facing on a day-to-day basis. I think that's something which will be something which is done on a real-time basis rather than waiting for a quarter engagement survey or a monthly or a yearly survey. Having said that, some of these technologies which are very very proven and which are getting proven in times to come, I think that is what people can start utilizing to actually understand on a real-time basis how engaged are my people across different cohorts. That's one game. Also, uh, we can also look at really looking at again the dynamics in terms of from a data standpoint to look at what are my predictors of performance, what are my predictors of engagement. So that is where predictive analytics again can come to play. So that's something which is very very definitely what you call game changing. But more and more as we start looking at getting engagement things done and in real time, that's where I think we are going to change the game. I mean, it's therefore there's no lag between what an employee feels and what it could be the response of organizations, etc. Would be much more in real time as opposed to a lag between the engagement survey and you actually start doing something. So I think not just at a moodometer level, but I'm saying at a reason level, if technologies can start giving us what are the reasons why, say, for example, my field force is feeling down today for whatever reason. So can as a manager looking at taking care of some of those aspects very, very quickly, which could be here and now situations. So there are these things which are possible. On a longer term basis, strategically speaking, we all know that engagement has direct correlation to the performance of the organization, everything. So I think if engagement can start be utilizing some of the predictive models to actually help us understand which cohorts, what are the factors that will actually help us drive much ahead of time to actually drive a very sustainable program of engagement. I think uh, we passed through a very difficult time last 2 years. All of us know what we went through as a change. But I think going forward, 22 and beyond, I think that's would be an era where probably hyper personalization probably would come into play. So, where what I mean by hyper personalization from an engagement standpoint, how can you actually develop policies, issues, and interventions which are localized to at a personal level, at a functional level as well. So I think that's where the whole game changing things will happen. Benefit programs, for example, how can I actually personalize to an individual as opposed to everything fits for everyone. So that's the stage where we are actually crossing. So therefore, engage the analytics can actually also help in driving hyper personalization of some of these aspects, which will actually lead to higher engagements and so on and so forth. So that's where analytics can play a very powerful role in giving insights on what helps and what are the factors which help my teams getting engaged, my community getting engaged, and so on and so forth. That's where isolation of factors and then working around those to make sure that the well-being, both physical, mental, emotional, is taken care of, and also, of course, the other aspects which are normal parts of the engagement. For example, you could have things that supervisor could be a problem, and all of know that people leave not the organizer but sometimes leaders. So it could be taken a corrective action if there's a predictive model probably utilized to say that what about 10 people left from a single marriage. There's something definitely there which needs to be taken care of. So I think technology, analytics, the entire play of this is going to be very, very impactful in driving engagement and therefore the kind of energized workplaces of the future.
Thanks, Adir. We hear a lot of talk about, how moments of truth tend to define the employee experience. And as you mentioned, with people analytics, you are actually able to go into those moments of truth, those encounters
Yeah.
with people, so you can re-strategize your engagement initiatives. Thanks for that, Ranjan. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I would say, fully agreeing with Adhir that, strategic HR management would be the key to retention and development of a quality workforce, because it's the appropriate strategy in place which leverages more value and motivation to the workforce. But at the same time, the transitioning to a real talent value leader takes a great deal of shift in mindset, as well as the capabilities both for HR as well as the business leaders. So, the gone are the days when employees would want to stick with the same organization throughout their career. And to be better able to deal with this, probably organizations have to look at creating better career experiences, and instead of relying on the obsolete strategies of career development. The organization can create enriching experiences, learning experiences for the employee. And there can be different kinds of experiences, and you can have the employee leaving your organization, probably joining somewhere else and developing a new skill and capability, and be back again to your own organization with a new capability. And you need to have a long term career experience perspective from the organization's point of view. And people analytics is going to help us assess the impact on the HR capabilities and capacities, and also is going to give us an opportunity to make informed decisions about our workforce, their capabilities and capacities, and the learning opportunities that we had to create this amazing career experience, which is my second bet for 2022.
Thanks, Ranjan. I see a parallelism in learning agility, and at the same time, the organization having the right data in being able to predict when like high level talent, highly skilled talent can become an asset to them, and when to attract them best. So thank you for that. This next question actually is for everyone again. And Ranjan already sort of touched on this topic about where we get our data, which sources. Now, the synchronization of data across disparate sources continue to be a challenge when implementing people analytics. We hear this a lot from people who are still navigating their way around analytics. What is your advice to people leaders in terms of managing different data points and drawing insights from them? Let's start with Ravendra, and then Adir, and then Ranjan. Ravendra?
Yeah, sure. I think in terms of leadership development, I see quite important relevance over there of utilization of this analytics for the people. So if we try to link with business strategy and thereby business results, then I would say that people engagement and even other aspects also what Ranjan was touching, people well-being, which is well connected with the people engagement itself. Okay, and then career development and career progression of the people. Those are the important things which will directly impact the business results. And if these HR strategies and actual implementation is not managed properly, then there could be certain gaps, there could be certain loss of business results, there could be inadequacy, and organization may suffer in short term or even in long term as well if these things are not corrected. So I think overall, all these aspects have to be well understood and then leveraged properly, because these are all the modern tools which are available to HR leaders, and not only HR leader. I would suggest all the business leaders also, and then it can help in good business success.
Thanks, Ravendra. Adir?
Yeah, your question was primarily to do with different sets of data. And as I think just before I kick in, as you know, data is the new currency and data is the new oil, as they say, right? So therefore, data, 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 that's going to be the mantra, because whichever system of HRMS or anything that you use, data becomes very, very critical for actually getting some fruitful analytics developed, because garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have very succinctly right data, a quality of data. So therefore, the two aspects on data I would like to mention here is the data quality and data integrity. What is my governance mechanism to actually incorporate data inside the system, and what is the kind of aging of data that aging in the sense of how long, I mean, how far back you can go from a data standpoint. The more richer data, that the more amount, the more number of years that data is available with you, 5, 6, 7, you'll actually be able to develop lots of trends which are quite easily possible through the analytics processes. Yes, of course, there are different sets of data. I mean, there is a finance data, there's a people data. How do you then link is going to be critical. Therefore, while a practical advice selecting some of the systems, etc., we need to have a cross-functional group which will actually understand lots of sets of data, finance, HR, and how these two systems can start talking to each other. So therefore, it will be from a business perspective very, very meaningful data that will be probably be able to kind of mine. And therefore, quality and integrity of data. Also, disparate systems should talk to each other. The finance system should talk to HR system through maybe a linkage of APIs and what have you. But typically, if you are not able to link this data, then the end analytics will not be very powerful and robust. So I think, therefore, that becomes a very critical mantra for us, that we need to have uh, data which is quality wise up there. There are governance mechanisms around which will actually help that maintain data over a period of time. A richer data in terms of the length of data that you have, and also systems talking to each other. And let's not build systems in isolation of each other, because you can't have an HR system not talking to a finance system and vice versa, or maybe a system which is needed to get downloaded into the process. So I think the other challenge also, as I see, there is a penchant to actually go for very module based approaches rather than not integrating the entire HRMS from one partner or something of that kind, which actually is useful. I mean, I am of the opinion, if you have the system from one partner, that helps, because then you can actually get an integrated suite of products which will actually help us get that much of richer talking to each other of the modules. Otherwise, it could have a performance tool which will be more talking to something else. Something on talent will not be talking to performance. Then it will be a kind of muddle that will be entering. So I think, let's, while looking at that part, how can you actually have integrated system which will actually help us better? Because at the end of the day, if your data is not solid, you, no matter whatever tools, whatever predictive analytics you want to use, you'll never be able to utilize, because your data is not robust. So that's the
Yes.
prime focus on how data can actually be able to predict and develop different layers of analytics that you want to actually have, and which will aid in the proper business decision making.
I think the very fact that we see disparate systems already is a red flag in and of itself. And
Yeah.
you mentioned sometimes people would adopt on a module basis, when in reality it's even better if you already have your analytics as a comprehensive platform
Yeah.
altogether. Ranjan?
Yeah. See, while most organizations are looking to hire employees for jobs that don't yet exist, we are always talking about skills gap. I would actually like to say that we have skills uncertainty. But what's fascinating is that organizations that focus more on creating employee experiences aren't feeling this gap as much as those who aren't. And the problem with people analytics efforts is that we have data coming in from disparate sources, and we have so much of data which is so broad. And I see that some of the organizations have adopted this dual strategy of focusing both on individual data and also at a team level, at a department level, to see where as a group people are moving, as a group employees are moving, and how they are aligned with the organizational goals and objectives. See, HR automation is here to be, HR automation has penetrated across the workforce management and everything that has to do with workforce planning. And as Adhir said, digital HR tools today offer us the advantages of the single source of truth and single platform, which is probably the best that organizations have to make the most of, to gather all their data from all these sources, and to get that one unified view of the health of the organization, and to utilize this as part of their workforce planning, and to make a transition from this traditional workforce strategy to an agile ongoing strategy, and comparing your internal data to the external benchmarks, and which can be helpful only by utilizing these digital platforms and digital tools, which can bring all those information onto a single platform.
Thank you, Ranjan. Now, before we turn our attention to our audience questions, I do have one last question for the entire panel. For my last question, in the digital workplace, how do you see people analytics contributing to business growth and success? Maybe you could sum it up in a statement or two. Let's start again with Ravendra.
Yeah, I think as I touched this particular point earlier also, that use of people analytics as a tool overall can contribute significantly towards business growth. Because in any growth scenario, whether we talk of organic growth or inorganic growth of organization, finally, as we know, alpha beta of business results, ultimately it's going to be the people and processes which are going to contribute towards business success. So from that point of view, when we have more and more people, then obviously we would expect people to be highly skilled, highly competent, and of course committed also to perform in a better way those newer dimensions of the business. Because if business is growing, then there are certain new way of doing things. So people have to be innovative also all the time. So from that point of view, I think it will be quite essential for people to understand those aspects, and people analytics as a tool can contribute significantly towards business growth. Because in initial time, if certain investments are happening, and as we know, in initial time, the profitability of the business may not start immediately. There will be huge pressure on cost, and I think that's the time where this analytics can help in optimization of cost, and by multi-skilling of the people, by the multitasking as well, and people can perform and in a better way, and overall utilization of the available resources can be much more significant. And then people can directly connect also that how exactly they are supporting the business towards its growth. So I think I see that towards growth it has very significant application.
Thanks, Ravendra. Adir?
Yeah, I think definitely we've been speaking about how attrition, not attrition, but how people analytics actually adding value to the business, because any business has this three very large component: people, technology, processes. I think very clearly in that bucket of people analytics, it's there. And therefore, I would say that the way analytics is going to help businesses by predicting whom I need to ring fence. Therefore, my talent gets ring fence, and therefore I am able to contribute by that talent to the business. That's one example. Second is really how I can actually predict performance. I mean, there are now we're trying to link performance to kind of the kind of a predictor of performance. So how actually analytics and some of the technology solutions will help me predict performance of various cohort groups. So therefore, I can take very corrective action, which is in the long term then going to help the business as well. Talent management, for example. I mean, who are my high potentials? What is going to be the differentiated offering to these talent through the systems? How can you actually then predict who is going to be high potential talents, etc., and what are some of the matrices that I can use to actually predict that? Therefore, how they are going to add value to my business. So therefore, a whole host of things can, and of course, the engagement that we spoke about. I mean, highly engaged organizations will lead to highly engaged uh, performance and highly engaged performance of the overall organization. So therefore, their analytics therefore brings a direct linkage or direct correlation to the kind of performance of the organization across various spectrums. And if you look at a balanced scorecard approach, you have the people linkages to right up till the customer and then of course the economic the value add that you're going to do to the shareholders. I think if you follow that, I think you will get to know that the predictor of performance, predictor of attrition, predictor of who can be my high pots, who, what is my learning agility going to be across various cohorts in the organization. That is the sum total of what we within HR can offer to the business, which the business leaders are able to take very what do you call it, very conscious decision about people and not something which is just off the cuff or just not something which is very very intuitive. Of course, intuition plays a lot of role, but I'm saying when it's evidence based and database, that is going to be helping the businesses grow that much more, as opposed to
Yes,
just taking off the cuff decisions on business aspects, people
I
related business
agree.
aspects. Yeah,
Yep. So what we can measure, we can always improve, and that is the
absolutely,
one of the ways to
absolutely.
success.
What
Thank
we
you
measure
again.
it gets improved. Yes, yeah,
So Ranjan, to wrap
Well,
it up.
I see two major ways that people analytics is going to influence organizations in. The one that it's going to help us design the future workforce strategy and build capabilities. And two, it's going to help us align human behavior with the organizational systems, structures, and goals and objectives. There is a significant gap between what employers are offering and employees are expecting from their work, and people analytics is going to help us minimize this gap, because this gap is actually what I see as the cause of a disengaged employee, which leads to less productivity, which is again leading to a potential flight. you know and I would like to end it with an insight from Ashley Goodall, the vice president of leadership of Cisco, who said that most organizations are stuck at using people analytics to compute averages than, as Adhir said, to focus more on the high potential organizations and employees, and to identify what they are doing and how you can replicate that for most of your organizations. So I would like to say that people analytics is going to influence us at an individual level, at a team level, and at a business level and organizational level.
Thanks for that, Ranjan. I'm going to throw in one question from the audience, maybe as our parting shot. Um, this question is actually about how businesses can enable data fluency in HR. I would throw this question to you, Adhir.
yeah. Very clearly, we need to have a complete detailed data strategy. Actually, one is of course we need to assess what is my digital quotient in the organization. I think we have lots of models. One of the famous models is the McKinsey model that like, it comes to my mind. But you can actually analyze where are my current people from a data quotient standpoint, because it all starts how people can start using systems and kind of deciphering the information that's coming out of the system. So that is one biggest part. Also, you need to not just plonk analytics. It has to be a change process. uh, uh, One is of course I told data quotient of employees, and I think awareness programs of what exactly data analytics can actually give me as solutions to people. Otherwise, it will be in the rudimentary days of MISs, etc., which will be still. So I think, therefore, that awareness building through
Awareness.
engagement of the talent, engagement of people, and even business leaders for that matter, not just the HR community, but it's both HR community and the business leaders, as to what is the power of analytics and how it will help them to take better people decisions on their business front. That's going to be very critical. So, quality awareness, your gathering of you're upping the data quotient through these awareness building programs, through interventions of maybe program that can be. In fact, what I've done in my own organization, I'll give a practical example. I have selected a bunch of high potential employees through our talent management processes, and I've sent them to an IM and a CII program where they are getting trained purely on analytics on HR and people, which will they will then come back to do an action learning project and help understand in the organization how powerful is the utilization of analytics. Therefore, so I think that it means a lot of change, man. It's not going to be easy, Rachel. It's going to be hard work because people want easy solutions to analytics. It's not there. First of all, it's the data quality, data integrity. I spoke some time back, and the whole host of awareness for business leaders as well as HR is. So how do you actually utilize this data? Because you can throw a lot of insights, or you can throw a lot of data, but there are no insights coming out of the data.
Yes.
It's of no use. So therefore, the quality of insights, how you develop and help people, managers and the leaders to actually assimilate and take certain very qualitatively different decisions will actually help build that fluency. It's a hard work. It's not an easy. No solution can come so easy because there is a change process involved in organizations which are maybe legacy, etc., to get to where we want to be, the predictive and the prescriptive levels. And also some of the newer tools on AI, machine learning, if you start inserting, it's not that people are going to take it, lap it up very quickly. So therefore, the change management process of utilizing quality of data to be increased. I think also leadership has a lot of role to play in driving the data fluency because they themselves should start expecting high level of data quality from everyone in the organization. So therefore, that sets a tone which should be important for us.
Thanks for the advice, Adir. Now, in the interest of time, we will have to wrap up today's session. Thank you for your insights, Adir, Ravendra, and Ranjan. There have been some really great takeaways today. We would also like to thank our partner for this session, Akrivia HCM. Akrivia is a comprehensive HCM cloud platform that helps firms engage, enable, and empower the workforce with a plethora of HR and talent solutions. For more details, you can visit their website at www.akriviahcm.com. Well, it has been a pleasure hosting you all today. Do stay tuned for upcoming virtual learning sessions with Akrivia HCM. We have 3 more sessions lined up for you. We will be sharing more details about those in the coming days. Thank you again to our panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for hosting us, Rachel. Thanks for the participants. It was
Thank you,
great
Rachel.
learning for all
Thank you,
of us.
Ravindra. Thank you, Adir.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I think great session.
This has been Rachel Reynosa for People Matters. Stay safe, everyone.